In the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand, and wrote over against the candlestick upon the plaster of the wall of the king's palace. And the king saw the part of the hand that wrote, Daniel 5, verse 5. The iniquity of the Gentile comes to the head in this chapter, and its insolence and blasphemy reveal its ignorance and weakness. The king threw down a bold challenge to Jehovah. He and the companions of his orgy drank wine out of the sacred vessels of the temple of God, and praised the idols 6 in number of gold, silver, brass, wood, iron, and stone. The divine response was the destruction that very night of the king in all his glory. Daniel, though subject to the king, did not invite him to repentance as he did Nebuchadnezzar, or treat him with the same respect. He announced his coming doom. This prefigures the judgment which will fall upon the last king of Babylon, who is to be cast into the lake of fire. For Babylon has given its own character to all the governments which have succeeded it, and however forbearing with these governments, God has been and is all was already lost for them, even in the days of Nebuchadnezzar. Belshazzar was co-regent with his father, Nabonidus, and reigned in Babylon while his father was warring against Cyrus. Years ago, the hall in which he held his drunken orgy was found. It was some 60 feet wide and 172 feet long. Its walls were beautifully decorated. After the handwriting appeared on the wall, and none of his wise men could read the writing, then was Daniel brought in. The king, true to fallen men's unchanging action, sought to help God as a last resource, not as the first. That is, he sought help from God. Even then, his great big pompous fool condescendingly says, I have heard of you. He does not add that the Spirit of the Holy God is with you, as the Queen Mother had said, but rather the Spirit of the gods is in you. He offered great gifts to Daniel, but the prophets, statesmen, rejected them all. Stark terror filled Belshazzar's heart, as it did in the hearts of all who were there, with the exception of Daniel. Every evidence is that the visible fingers which had written the message were still poised in the air beside the inscription. The message, as Daniel read it, carried no tinge of mercy. It was final. It was judgment. For how many presently is the handwriting on the wall?